So on a previous episode, we talked about how this idea that Christians wrestle with, which is that we do say that the laws of the Torah are still in force, and they think that makes us like Judaizers, because we say like, hey, if we say to a disciple of Yeshua like, hey, like Passover is Jewish, but that doesn't mean it's not for you. You can celebrate the death and resurrection of Yeshua on its anniversary, which is the Jewish festival of Passover. Weirdly, though, there are some of these Messianic Jewish people have said the same accusation about us, which is that by telling a Gentile follower of Jesus, hey, go ahead and like join together with Jewish people and celebrate Passover, that we're breaking down the distinction between Jew and Gentile in the body of Messiah. And you know, being on staff, we talk about distinction all the time, and we've been harping on it for forever. Like I can't remember a time when we weren't talking about it, but you know, and I think distinction theology is sort of one of our distinctives. Like it's a core principle that we have. And maybe you guys can articulate that principle for our listeners. Broadly speaking, what is distinction theology?
Well, I'd say that distinction theology is a very straightforward, simple concept that there is Israel and there are the nations, and that these definitions retain their integrity within the body of Messiah. You know, so Gentiles don't become Jews. They don't become Israel by simply believing in Jesus. And likewise, Jewish identity and the roles and responsibilities associated with it doesn't get erased by faith in Messiah. So thus, there remains a distinction between Jews and Gentiles.
Very clearly stated. Very clearly stated. Makes perfect sense. Next.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
You know,
first of all, distinction theology is certainly not a new idea. I would say Paul was a really good distinction theologian to create a term there. He had, you know, his famous rule. His translations say, Paul, this is my rule for all the churches, right? In 1 Corinthians 7.
Yeah, and it's the only time he said that.
Yeah. Well, Paul was strong. He wasn't afraid to lay claim to a rule and to his gospel and his interpretation. And I've always appreciated
he was an apostle.
That.
Yeah.
He was not afraid to say, I'm very loosely paraphrasing, hey, if you came into this Yeshua thing as a Jew, stay that way. If you came into this into this Yeshua thing, this Jesus thing as one from the nations, as a Gentile, stay that way. What matters is observing the commandments of God. In other words, and there's a deep discussion that we can go into here, but we're talking about distinction theology. We're coming into this from different sides of things, and yet we're serving now. You guys who were from the nations, you're serving alongside the Jewish people as children of Abraham, as followers of the God of Israel. And so you need to know these commandments. Like you were doing really bad things in temples to Aphrodite and all these other things. We're not doing those things anymore. There's a new system here that you need to understand. And here's the best way to do it. See this Jewish guy here? He's a big brother. He's a guide. That's a calling that we've had since at least Deuteronomy 4 and other places. Be a light to the nations. And so Paul was saying, you're coming into this thing, and follow these commandments. They're the thing you need to do. But you do not become this. And as a matter of fact, just to go even further, this may be something we'd want to hit later on. If you do try to become this, then you're actually undermining the prophetic words of God that say there is a place for Jews and Gentiles, Jewish people and the nations. that is distinct and beautiful.